Hey guys, welcome back to Carib 21 Network. So yesterday we produced a show, and in that show I spoke about the opposition leader Mark Golin. And in that video I said, look, Mark Golin, after the defeat in the 2025 election, and Mark Golin came out last week in a press conference that he had with Dayton Campbell, and Mark Golin said to the Jamaican people that of the 28 members of parliament for the People's National Party, 27 of them wrote a letter to the Governor General showing confidence in Mark Golin. And he said that one was away, and that is the reason why they didn't have the 28. And in that video that I did yesterday, I said, look, this would be the first People's National Party leader that would have lost an election and not open it up for a challenge. And a lot of people were pushing back. I got a lot of pushback, and people are saying that, look, Michael Manley lost the election in 1980, and Michael Manley did not walk away from the party. People are saying also, Portia Simpson Miller, she lost the election in 2011, and she did not walk away from the party. So today I decided that, you know what, instead of answering people individually in the comment section, let me just come and give them a history lesson about the People's National Party and its politics. So, let's talk about it. So first I must say, I'm a student of politics. I love politics. I'm not just talking about the People's National Party. I'm talking about the People's National Party, the Jamaica Labour Party, Jamaican politics overall. And I've had a rare opportunity that most people cannot say that they have had. I have had the opportunity to sit down with people from both sides, Jamaica Labour Party leaders and People's National Party. I did not get the opportunity to meet Michael Manley in person. However, I spent over 6 years with Beverly Manley. I had the opportunity to ask her any question I wanted to ask her. When Beverly Manley was working in Jamaica at the Breakfast Club, I don't know if people that are old enough would remember the Breakfast Club, that morning show that Beverly Manley hosted. I had the opportunity over 6 years to sit with Beverly Manley and to talk to her about anything politics, anything Michael Manley. I also had a rare opportunity to have multiple conversations with Mr. Edward Siaga, persons like Olivia Babsy Grange and Pernell Charles. So I'm a student of politics, not someone that went to school to study political science, but someone who actually meet the politicians, have in-depth conversation with them about politics in Jamaica, about Jamaican political history. So when I'm talking about politics, I'm not second guessing. I know exactly what I'm talking about. So the purpose of this video is to break down why I believe when Mark Golin, the opposition leader, came out last week and addressed the media and stated that the 28 members of parliament, People's National Party members of parliament, have confidence in him after losing the election to continue to be the leader of the opposition. What Mark Golin did right there was breaking People's National Party tradition. That conversation should not have been out there. The history of the People's National Party is after you lose an election, automatically it should be opened up for a challenge. If someone else wants to step in and to give it a try, that they should have the option. And what Mark Golin did right there, coming out publicly, addressing the media, addressing the people of Jamaica, what Mark Golin did then is try to take away any opportunity from any challenger. So like if Damian Crawford wants to challenge, if Peter Bunting wants to challenge now, Damian Crawford and Peter Bunting, they are going to look like the ones that are about to destroy the party if they come out now and try to challenge Mark Golin after Mark Golin came out on the media and put that statement out there. So I'm going to break down today why I say this has never happened in the history of the People's National Party. So let me go way back. In order to make this video not too long, I'm not going to go in like too much details. I can do a separate video for that. But to go back, the People's National Party have had four prime ministers since Jamaica gained independence. 4 prime ministers came from the People's National Party, and Norman Manley was the first prime minister from the People's National Party. everyone knows that Norman Manley groomed his son, Michael Manley, and Michael Manley was the successor of Norman Manley. So that is clear. Norman Manley handed over the party to Michael Manley, to his son Michael Manley. So Michael Manley won from 1972 to 1980. Michael Manley won 2 back-to-back elections from 1972 to 1980. In the 1980 election, Michael Manley lost to Edward Seaga, which that election is recorded as the bloodiest election in the history of Jamaica. Michael Manley lost that election. He went on to another election. I think that the other election was in 83 when Edward Seaga called an election early. And what people are saying now that, okay, Michael Manley lost the 1980 election and Michael Manley did not step down. If you're listening carefully, what I said, the protocol is after you lose the election, it should be automatically open up for a challenge. When Michael Manley lost the election in 1980 and it went for a challenge, the people, the delegates, the people behind the scene decided that, look, Michael Manley was the best person for the party and Michael Manley is going to stay. So everything, all of that happened behind the scene. The people had confidence in him. They're like, look, Michael Manley is the best person for the People's National Party. And it was then in 1980, between 1980 and 1983, Michael Manley was dubbed Joshua. That is what the People's National Party, the delegates and people in the people, like die-hearted PMP, they called Michael Manley Joshua. Joshua, you know the story about Joshua in the Bible, and Joshua was the one that led the people of Israel to the promised land. So that is how much confidence they had in Joshua. So to come and say that, look, Michael Manley did not open up himself for a challenge is wrong information. People that are saying that have no idea of the history of the People's National Party. Michael Manley was chosen again to stay by the people of the party, by the delegates, by the people on the ground. And that is when, as I said, they dubbed him Michael Manley Joshua. Okay, so fast forward, I think it was in 1983 when Edward Seaga called a snap election. He called the election, I think, 2 years early before the election was due. And the People's National Party decided to boycott the election. The People's National Party, that was the only election in Jamaica's history that was boycotted. And the People's National Party did not contest that election. And that is how the Jamaica Labour Party end up with all the seats. So that is another history lesson in politics. So now we move on to 1989 when Michael Manley again ran against Edward Seaga, because after they did not contest the election, the people still had confidence in Michael Manley and the people wanted Michael Manley to stay. And that is the point that I'm trying to make. The people were the ones that decided, not Michael Manley. And in 1989, Michael Manley won the election. And Michael Manley won the election like it was like a landslide victory. And one of the main reasons we were still trying to recover from the 1988 Gilbert hurricane, one of the most devastated hurricane in the history of Jamaica, where up to 75% of Jamaica was completely destroyed. Edward Seaga lost that election to Michael Manley. So we fast forward now to 1992. Michael Manley is still the Prime Minister of Jamaica. Jamaica is still trying to recover from Hurricane Gilbert, because Jamaica, for people who are old enough, remember that Jamaica took about 10 years before it fully recovered from Gilbert, before all of the damages were repaired from Hurricane Gilbert. And at that time, in 1992, Michael Manley's popularity was down. He was not very popular in 1992. And there was also talks about the People's National Party implementing a tax, which we know today as the GCT, the General Consumption Tax. So Michael Manley was very unpopular. And Michael Manley decided, instead of running the election and taking a chance and losing, let's endorse P.J. Patterson. And that is how P.J. Patterson came. And P.J. Patterson came and won 3 consecutive election after Michael Manley stepped down and handed over the party to P.J. Patterson. So P.J. Patterson, 1992 to 2006, made history, becoming the first prime minister in the history of Jamaica to win 3 consecutive elections. In 2006, however, P.J. Patterson was going through a lot with the FinSac, with all of the scandal that was going on, all of the stuff that went through under his administration, the Cuban light bulb crisis and everything that took place. P.J. Patterson was not very popular. And P.J. Patterson realized that, look, Portia Simpson or someone else would have had a better chance. And P.J. Patterson stepped aside and they ran an election where Portia Simpson Miller won in that election, in internal election. Portia Simpson won in 2006 and Portia Simpson became the interim prime minister. She was not elected. The interim prime minister between 2006 and 2007. And this is another point where people are saying that, look, Portia Simpson Miller lost the election to Bruce Golding and she did not step down. And let me explain why. When Portia Simpson won that internal election, the general election was called shortly after. And it is common practice if an internal election was already run in the same year, they're not going to run 2 internal elections in the same year. And we saw the same thing that happened with Andrew Holness. Bruce Golding stepped down from the Jamaica Labour Party because of what went down in Tivoli Gardens. And Andrew Holness became the interim prime minister of Jamaica. And that election, when them say, call it, and Andrew Holness called the election and lost. Andrew Holness was not expected to step down because in that same year, there were already an internal election. So for those people who are talking about Portia Simpson did not step down, it is common practice in Jamaica politics. If there was already an internal election and the person won within that year, there's no need for a second challenge in the same year. So that is the reason why I'm saying what Mark Golding is doing now is unprecedented. It's never happened in the history of Jamaica. Let's continue. So if you have been following my election coverage this year, you would have heard me said on numerous occasions that I believe that when P.J. Patterson stepped down and Portia Simpson became that interim prime minister, that was when the People's National Party started going down. Because even though it was not any secret, it was out there that P.J. Patterson knew that Portia Simpson would have been the only chance for them to win another election. And there was word out there that P.J. Patterson was admitting that, look, Portia Simpson might not be the best prime minister, but she's the only chance that we have of winning. So from Portia Simpson became interim prime minister at that time, we saw a fracture started building up in the People's National Party, where we saw people like Peter Phillips started challenging her like right off the bat. However, Portia Simpson went on and Portia Simpson won the election where she served as officially the first female prime minister in the history of Jamaica from 2012 to 2016. So it's now 2016 and Portia Simpson Miller is going up against Andrew Holness again in the 2016 election. And Andrew Holness pulled away and won that election. I think he won it by one point and he won that election. And automatically, Portia Simpson did not come out at that time and say, look, the members of parliament, the MPs are confident in me and they want me to stay. Portia Simpson did not do that. They went for internal election and Portia Simpson was out. Then we got Peter Phillips and things got even worse from then, because that is where Peter Phillips, and we saw Bunting challenging Peter Phillips, and Peter Phillips was able to fight off that challenge and enter the 2020 election where the People's National Party was devastated. So if you follow my coverage of the election, I stated from 2011 is where the fracture really started in the People's National Party. Because before that, there's no record out there of any fumble when they're transitioning. The handoff of leaders have been flawless before 2011. So fast forward now, and we saw the eruption in 2020 with Lisa Anna, with Peter Bunting, with Damian Crawford, with Mark Golding, we saw the fracture and we saw the infighting between different delegates in that. And I stated that, look, in all my coverage of the election this year, I stated that, look, because of that, because of what happened with Lisa Anna, Damian Crawford, Mark Golding, Peter Bunting, it was going to be almost impossible for the People's National Party to win, because a divided People's National Party will never beat a united Labour Party. And that is what I've been saying for the entire 2025, talking about this election. So now we are at September 3, 2025, and we saw where Andrew Holness pulled away and defeat Mark Golding again. And Andrew Holness becoming the first Jamaica Labour Party Prime Minister to have won 3 consecutive elections, which was not a surprise for me. However, what was a surprise for me is that just a few days after being defeated by the Jamaica Labour Party, that Mark Golding would have gone out there in a press conference announcing that, look, of the 28 MPs, 27 have already signed to the Governor General and 1 is away and will be signing. Their confidence in me running the party, being the leader of the opposition going forward. And that is what was surprising to me, because what I believe that Mark Golding should have done, yes, put out a statement that, look, we're going forward, we are going to form the opposition, and we will let you know what is going to happen at the PNP leadership conference to see if there's going to be a challenge. But with Mark Golding coming out there and putting that statement out that, look, the 28 members of parliament for the People's National Party have confidence in him as the leader going forward. What that did was to take away the potential from anyone to challenge him, to take away the potential from Damian Crawford, to take away the potential from Peter Bunting. And if a challenge comes up within the next year, I believe that because of this move by Mark Golding, it's going to further fracture the party. And that is why I believe that, look, this what Mark Golding did has never been done in the history of the People's National Party. So I hope that clears up everything. So guys, sound off in the comment section. You can agree, you can disagree, but that is just a brief history of the People's National Party and how the People's National Party operates, and why I believe that with that statement from Mark Golding, that is pretty much handing over the 4th term to the Jamaica Labour Party. Because what Mark Golding did right there is going to make it impossible for someone to challenge without further fracturing the People's National Party. Sound off in the comment section, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content. And remember, peace. I'm out.